Well now, started from the bottom, now we're here. Good morning, brave adventurers. I am AmalgamAsh, and this is the Bard playtest for 2021's HeroQuest. The goal of this video is to ascertain whether or not the Bard has what it takes to make it through the trial. The Bard will be armed with a rapier, as well as his 3 starting abilities, namely Healing Song, which allows you and all the heroes that you see restore up to 2 lost body points each. Lullaby, which puts one enemy into a deep sleep so that they cannot move, attack, or defend themselves, but can be broken at once or on a future turn if the enemy rolls 1 red die for each of their mind points. And Inspiring Tale. The spell may be cast on any one hero, except for the Bard himself. The next time that hero attacks, they may roll 1 extra combat die, and the Bard regains this spell when any hero that he can see, excluding himself, rolls defend dice that result in 2 white shields. The Bard has attack dice of 2, defense dice of 2, 5 body points, and 4 mind points. The Bard is joined on this playthrough by the Dwarf. The reason being, Bard's loadout is one that facilitates being with the other heroes. It is a loadout that takes advantage of the party situation as opposed to the character having a self-sufficient loadout. Finally, the Bard is armed with the rapier, which is a long, slender sword that allows you to roll 2 attack dice and may be used to attack diagonally. We will be testing the Bard along with the Dwarf in today's playthrough using the first quest of the core game, The Trial. So, as with the other playthroughs, please be warned that this may contain spoilers for that first quest. The reason that I chose the Dwarf for this playthrough is because I would not consider the Dwarf to be as strong physically as the Barbarian, and they cannot use any sort of magic. So the Dwarf is kind of a very balanced, in-the-middle type character. As pointed out in so many words by Bardic Broadcasts, the best thing about HeroQuest. As for the Bard himself, he is an orc, so we're going to see what kind of hijinks we can get into, in character, of course. Finally, I will be implementing a house rule common to these playthroughs, where if there are no monsters on the board, I will allow my heroes to move freely. The orc shall begin. And completely unaware of the danger because I think he missed the memo, the orc wanders to the first door and opens it gingerly, trotting on through, whistling a bit of a tune to himself. His voice echoes through the halls. Zargon pizza is the pizza for you and me. The orc bard will choose to open this door, which will now end our free movement. You'd think I'd have this memorized by now. Rolling for movement. It's meager, but it's just enough to get the job done. Fellow orcs! Unaware of the danger that he is in, the orc steps into the room, giddy, and stands diagonal to the first orc. We will now attack that first orc. However, in the bard's world, he's not attacking the orc. He gently lifts the rapier out of its sheath in order to showcase it to the orc. Look at what I have, brother! Well, the orc has 2 defense dice, so it can mitigate this attack. Let's find out if it does. No. It rolls a perfect attack instead. While the orc bard is pulling out the rapier to show it to his new friends, he trips over a bottle that seems to have fallen right off of the alchemist's workbench, causing the rapier to fly across the room and gouge the orc's eye out. Indeed, the needle-like sword has completely impaled the orc's skull. He falls to his death, without a single word more. Shrieking with fury, his female companion charges forward and attacks. 1. Rolling defense. 1. We have mitigated the attack with our 1 white shield. Probably a mistake of me not to move the dwarf during this turn. But after all, this is a good test of the orc's mettle, or rather, the bard's mettle. But we will now go ahead and move this dwarf. Oh. Completely, somehow oblivious to the fact that the bard has just completely murdered the first orc. Completely. He proceeds to unsheath his lute in order to sing a hymn, further showing off his material possessions to his fellow orc brethren. And we have 1 skull. The female orc rolls in defense, believing the bard to be unsheathing a massive sword. And it fails. She charges forward in a sort of offensive defense, but trips on the same bottle and smashes her head into her own mace. The orcs have fallen. We are off to a wonderful start. This is a fantastic playthrough so far. Well, I'm having fun anyway. We're so close to another door, and I know that we're going to open it, so we might as well roll. Maybe not do the sound effects. Okay. And it's our very familiar friends, the Famir and the Goblin. The orc has not had to use Inspiring Tale yet, but I should have. I should have used it before I opened the door. I know that somebody's going to point that out in the comments. Couple of tips, they'll say. Use Inspiring Tale. Always use Inspiring Tale. Well, maybe I didn't want to waste it on the Goblin. And the Dwarf rolls their 2 attack dice. We have 1 skull in the mix. Will the Goblin be able to defend? And they did, because of course they did, because why wouldn't they? Now, the monsters are taken aback, but they are prepared for this. The Goblin immediately moves to the side, just for flavor, and begins to attack the Dwarf. And it's a perfect Goblin attack. Defense for Dwarf. Absolutely perfect Goblin attack. No defense was made, and the Dwarf takes 2 body points of damage. The Abomination is next. I called him a Famir earlier. He did not like that. And it would be in the Abomination's best interest to finish what the Goblin started. 3 attack dice, only 1 skull. Dwarf rolls defense, and defends adequately. It is the Orc Bard's turn. Excellent movement roll for the Orc Bard, but he need only move into the room. Ah! I love the Abominations. I love them. I love them. But wow. They do not help the sizing problems that you encounter when you play this game. They are massive, and they love to spread their fishy limbs everywhere. Ugh. The Bard attacks the Abomination. Paltry attack. Actually, he decided to pull out his lute and begin playing. He's attempting to play a copyright-free version of a medieval take on Hey There Delilah. The Abomination has 3 defense dice. And not a one of them are a black skull, which means the song hurt the Abomination's ears so badly that it began to bleed from its ear holes, and it takes 1 point of damage. It is now the Dwarf's turn, and the Dwarf is going to try to finish off the Abomination. Perfect attack by the Dwarf. And the Abomination has suffered 2 body points, which means it is going down. We are really off to a good start so far. It is the Goblin's turn, aka Zargon's turn. Goblin said I might as well attack the Dwarf again. I did pretty good last time. That's 1 skull, and the Dwarf's perfect defense. The Dwarf has rolled 2 white shields, which means if I had used Inspiring Tale, I would now be able to recharge it. Now that it's my turn, I am going to use the Dwarf first, because I'm going to use the Orc right after. The Bard, I really need to start calling him the Bard. But it's difficult to remember because you refer to some of these characters by their race instead of their class. So the Dwarf is going to finish this Goblin, or attempt to, and it's 2 skulls. The Goblin cannot defend against that because it only has 1 defense die, and so the Goblin is taken out like the trash mob it is. We are now going to move freely throughout the halls. "You fool," says the Dwarf. "This isn't the way to Verag's foul lair." "New friends," says the Orc, sauntering into the room with the torture rack, where previously there had been screams of torture within. Perhaps they were pleasure screams of torture, however, as all we have in here are a small goblin and a female orc. I'm not here to kink shame. However, the Orc Bard is here to serenade, and he's not going down without a musical fight. He immediately belts out a tune. I'm dreaming of a green Christmas. 1 skull. Orc defends. No black. The Orc goes down. It turned out that I'm dreaming of a green Christmas was the perfect magical incantation to make the Orc's head explode. The Goblin is shocked at this, but it's the Dwarf's turn. Dwarf now attacks Goblin. It's 1 skull. Goblin may be able to defend against that, and does not. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting cocky. I'm not gonna try to hide it. This is a great run, and it only makes sense that the Orc plays to as many of his newfound friends as possible. I wield my broadsword at night. A paltry attack against the Dread Warrior. Dread Warriors suck. They have 4 defense dice and 4 attack dice. And this time, first black shield rolled in the game, second black shield, I think. He's taken no damage. It's the Dwarf's turn. She immediately moves in, and I tell you what, it would have been more intelligent if I'd moved the Orc right here and then attacked diagonally. And now we attack. The Dwarf will attack the Dread Warrior in front of her. No skulls. She is completely overwhelmed, frozen in fear at the size of these guys. They looked manageable from a few feet away, but closing the distance, she sees that they've got more than 1.5 times height on her. This one wastes no time in trying to bring his mace down on the Dwarf's head. Not the best attack, it's 1 skull. The Dwarf does get to defend against that, and defends adequately. The second one, seeing that the Dwarf is a bit bruised from an earlier scuffle, wonder what that could have been, decides to pick up the torch and attack. And it's a pretty good attack. The Dwarf is able to mitigate 1, but has to take the other 2. It has 3 body points left. Well, we came in here, we can't stop now. The Orc will now use Lullaby, putting 1 enemy into a deep sleep, and that will be this enemy. He will then move into the corner with the treasure chest, where he will attempt to attack that enemy his next turn. Dread Warriors have 3 mind points, so 3 of these die will now be rolled, and if a 6 is rolled, the Dread Warrior will wake up. And I need not roll the 3rd die, he has immediately woken up. The Dwarf's turn next. She moves to the side, which will actually completely protect the Orc Bard. I should have used Inspiring Tale, and she attacks the Dread Warrior. 1 skull. Dread Warrior rolls defense. No defense. The Dread Warrior takes a skull. Finally. However, it is Zargon's turn, and he commandeth the Dread Warriors take out this Dwarf. The Dwarf in particular. Zargon's not too sure why one of his orcs is wandering around his halls wearing a tricorn hat and singing. Dread Warrior's attack is mighty. The Dwarf defends. It mitigates another body point, but takes another 2 skulls of damage. That's it. This Dwarf has 1 hit left. And this Dread Warrior says he's going to be the one to take care of it. With 2 skulls rolled, the Dwarf needs to roll a perfect defense in order to escape this battle alive. And it is a less than perfect defense. In fact, it is non-existent. It is almost as if she is completely exhausted from the incessant yowling of the orc singing covers. Now he's singing Cranberries' Zombie, and it's all too fitting. The dwarf collapses after taking her last breath. It is now the orc's turn. Ah, she must have been tired, he thinks, and attacks the first Dread Warrior diagonally. Not intentionally, but again by pulling out his lute and accidentally smacking the Dread Warrior in the helmet. And that was quite the smack. 2 skulls. The Dread Warrior wasn't prepared, but his armor is tough. And his armor has blocked 1 of those skulls worth of damage. However, he only has 1 body point left. Can we do something about this orc bard? Well, not really. They can only attack him 1 at a time, and I can't move in, attack, and then move out, which means I'm going to have to move 1 of the Dread Warriors in and attack that way, and then end the turn. The attack is respectable. 2 skulls. Let's see if the orc can sing his way out of this. Ah, you want to see my loot, he says. Oh, and in ducking to grab his loot, he has completely avoided the swing of the mace carried by the Dread Warrior. The orc is now able to counterattack. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what's going on here. 2 skulls. It's a fail. But I know one thing, this orc is not moving out of that corner whether he likes it or not. The Dread Warriors have him trapped. The first Dread Warrior attacks, and wouldn't you know it, it's all shields yet again. The orc has evidently moved to place his loot on the ground again, so that he can perhaps pull out a flute. We'll never know. All we know is that this Dread Warrior has done what he has been able to do, which is nothing much, and the next Dread Warrior moves in for the hopeful kill. And we have rolled 3 shields at a skull. What will the orc's reaction be? Well, it will actually be to get hit full on in the face. When I entered this room with these heroes, this was not the outcome that I expected, although I'm sure I am being laughed at because it's probably the outcome everyone else expected. Never mind. The orc finally senses there is some sort of danger, evident by the fact his friend is being stood on and is no longer breathing, and decides it's time to pull out the rapier and attack this guy yet again. 1 skull, but it's possible that the Dread Warrior will not be able to defend. Oh, but he did. I still have to roll the other 2 dice, but there's no point in doing that. He has defended. He attacks. Another respectable Dread Warrior attack. 2 skulls at this point, I fear. We're all just here simply to watch the orc get beaten down and made into a living treasure chest, inside of which will be stuffed body of the dwarf. We're about to see. Oh, and the orc takes 2 more points of damage. Unable to use Lullaby and unable to use Inspiring Tale because we can't use that ability on the bard himself. We are running out of options. The Dread Warriors do the Dread Shuffle, and the second Dread Warrior attacks the bard again. A crushing blow? We'll see. It's times like this I wish the orc had a reactive spell or ability like the warlock. My darling warlock would have cast dark wings and would have been out of this room in a flash. But the orc is just getting slaughtered in the corner, and I have no one to blame but myself. That is the last body point of damage the orc was able to take. Seemingly unaffected in spirit by the tragedy that is his as well as his companion's death, the orc sinks to the floor, almost as if in a play, performing, singing one last tune. Da 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 da, before the life slips from his green body once and for all. Well, that was altogether embarrassing. I had an excellent, crushing, just unbelievably great start to this quest. I barged into other rooms and decided to try to clear them out, and thought this would be quite the boast if I could get this one done, because it housed 2 dread warriors. The main room is the most dangerous of them all, but this would have been very, very confidence building. Now all I have to say is there is no confidence. The orc, however, in a party situation, I think has proved to be a decent hero if he is played in this way, somewhat defensively, or at least positioned. Then he can take a pretty good amount of damage out of the enemies. And really, we only have to worry about when the enemies are still alive after that first attack, which tends to happen with these dread warriors and with these gargoyles. And trust me, after the core campaign is cleared, it only gets much, much worse. So a party of 4 will be the next playtest, and that will be a playtest for another day for now. I really hope you enjoyed this playthrough. I would love any feedback, or if you did watch the video at all. I wasn't so sure about this one. I did have a lot of fun doing it, and I guess in the end that's all that really counts. I would like to thank, yet again, Always Bored, Never Boring, for really being the inspiration. Without having seen his videos, I don't think I would have conceived that I was able to do this at all. If you'd like to see more HeroQuest playthroughs, I'm planning on doing several more, unique as possible, and at this point I think it would be appropriate to give a shout out to Hasington Paints, one of the people to welcome me to the HeroQuest Discord, as well as Hattori64, who has given me a very dangerous, very unique idea with a comment that they left on my Skeletons and Orcs Dark World Legend of Zagor HeroQuest comparison video. Because of the question that they asked me, I'm going to do a playthrough of HeroQuest using the 4 Wizards of Morcar, although I'll probably call them the Wizards of Zargon. Their stats are suitable for them to be used as hero characters, but we're going to completely rewrite the narrative and make it make sense. And I'm going to show you some ways that you can implement homebrew. We will be doing that with the classic HeroQuest game system and pieces, and we will be sending the 4 Wizards of Morcar or Zargon through the trial. We'll be doing that soon. So, please look forward to that. I definitely do. I hope you all have a great day. I will see you again tomorrow in the next video. And until then, bye for now.